Welcome, one and all, to The Late Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. But tonight, we are all Jimmy Kimmel.
You're all fired?
Show, though, right? Okay, good.
Yes, and you're all fired, too. He's already been fired. That's Stephen Colbert. He's fired into the future, but they're going to pay him millions of dollars on the way out the door. It's good to be part of the Democrat Party's propaganda machine. Yeah, last night they thought they're having a Spartacus moment. And they live in a delusion. They live in a fantasy world. The government had nothing to do with, the Trump administration had nothing to do with President Donald Trump. Nothing to do with. The White House had nothing to do with Jimmy Kimmel throwing himself on a grenade because he's another bloodthirsty ghoul, a Democrat moron. Pretty standard stuff, really. And a very good and happy Friday to you. Welcome back once again. We continue to be at 888-630-9625. The funeral and memorial service for assassinated conservative Charlie Kirk is this Sunday in Arizona at a football stadium, and it's expected to be very well attended. A lot of big names, not the least of which is President Donald J. Trump. Back now from the United Kingdom, where King Chuck had him over there for an unprecedented second state visit, never offered or given to any world leader ever in the history of the world before Donald Trump. A couple of other American presidents have received state visits, George W. Bush and Barack Hussein Obama. And Hussein, he's out there saying all kinds of wacky stuff. He's one of the most divisive individuals in the history of the country. I would say certainly the most divisive president in the history of the country. You know, the left is. He was mentored by a communist as a teenager named Frank Marshall Davis, a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. But that's not important now. The big funeral is on Sunday, and a great many noteworthy people expected to attend. ABC News with the headline today, federal agencies are tracking security threats to Charlie Kirk funeral because Democrats will be Democrats. You know, my mother, who was the mother of 6 boys who all grew up to be men. Isn't that a coincidence? What are the odds of that? I think that couldn't happen in a Democrat family today. And wait, the mom had 6 boys, and all the boys grew up to be men and not Democrats, not girls, not cross-dressing, transgender, mentally ill, Democrats. No. But isn't that a man? She used to say, boys will be boys. And now Democrats will be Democrats. That is to say that, this weekend they'll shoot 30 people in Chicago and kill 5 or 6, and nobody will bat an eye. And the Democrats will say, hey, pretty good, huh? Last weekend we had 8. That's they like the killing. They really do. And political assassinations, definitely their bag. You know, only if you look at the history of assassinations in the United States of America and how Democrats assassinated Abraham Lincoln in 1865, the first ever Republican president, by a slavery-loving Democrat. And James Garfield in 1881, not too much later, Republican president assassinated by a Democrat. Then William McKinley, and the Democrats took the name of Mount McKinley off and decided to make it a Native American name instead, like they won something. William McKinley, the Democrats assassinated, Republican president in 1901. Finally, a Democrat president was assassinated in 1963, but that was by a communist. That was a communist. Either that or the CIA. You decide. It could be the deep state. Also shot and wounded, but not killed. Teddy Roosevelt, he was post-president running for president again. And, of course, Democrats shot at Gerald Ford twice. One was a member of the Manson family, which the Democrats think was a pretty good family. Because by their standards, the Manson family was close. You know, they enjoyed Thanksgiving dinner together at the Spawn Ranch and things. They watched TV together, things like that. But the Manson family, definitely a Democrat family, wouldn't you say? I don't think there's any doubt about that, looking at values. And then Ronald Reagan was shot, of course, by a Democrat. Donald Trump was shot and wounded. And Charlie Kirk was assassinated by the Democrats in 2025. Did you see the Democrats? They're they tried mightily to label the assassin boy as a Republican. See that? Because there's no lie too big for them to tell. It's the old Joseph Goebbels thing. Make the lie so big that no one will dare to not believe it. And the Democrat Party lives by that Joseph Goebbels credo. Isn't it amazing? Our Democrat Party. Very, very sad. Yeah, now federal agencies are tracking security threats to Charlie Kirk funeral. Federal law enforcement agencies, a new assessment released on Thursday, said that they are tracking several threats of unknown credibility against people planning to attend Sunday's Charlie Kirk Memorial in Glendale, Arizona, where the big football stadium is. These people include the subjects, the targets of the threats coming from the Democrat Party, threats of violence, of assassination. ABC News says those people include President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and members of the Kirk family. Members of the Kirk family are being threatened because, that's what the Democrats do. Violent extremists and unaffiliated lone offenders may view the memorial service or related events as attractive attack targets due to the attendance of these individuals, other senior U.S. government officials, state and local government officials, and political activists, and due to major international media attention, because even the Iranians are reporting on it. Now, who's more dangerous, Iran or the Democrat Party? I've been asking this question for some time now, haven't I? And ISIS, Al-Qaeda, who's more dangerous, ISIS or the Democrat Party? Really don't even have to toss a coin. You know who it is, hands down, looking at the last handful of years in the United States. So the memo issued by agencies, including plural, including the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Secret Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, which is not just a convenience store, but also a federal agency. The memo was distributed to law enforcement and government agencies and obtained by ABC News. ABC News obtained the memo. I wonder if it was from an anonymous source. I think it probably was. The report comes as DHS, Department of Homeland Security, earlier on Thursday designated the funeral as a special event assessment rating, and that becomes an acronym, SEAR, S-E-A-R, Special Event Assessment Rating. It was a backronym. First they came up with SEAR, then they attached the words to it. It's our government. It's a Special Event Assessment Rating Level 1 event. DHS official told ABC Fake News. They've got, ABC News, they got George Stephanopoulos in the morning, and he gets $30 million. He was never a journalist. He was in the Clinton White House, and then they immediately hired him and said, can you pretend to be a TV journalist? We'll pay you millions of dollars. And he said, well, okay, I can do that. And then they have The View. This is the Democrat Party propaganda apparatus just on ABC network. And then The View, where you have radical left-wing nutcases like Whoopi Goldberg, whose real name is Karen Johnson. Her real name is Karen Johnson. It's not Whoopi. It's not Goldberg. She's an anti-Semite, and there's nothing Whoopi about her. No one has, I don't want to get into making Whoopi. We'll leave that alone. But isn't that amazing? And then they've got, let's see, the ABC Nightly World News Tonight, I think they call it. And we were just playing some of one of their reporters the other day coming up with incredible, gigantic, fatuous lies. Their ABC News reporter. What was his name? Matt Gutman, making fun of. And then at night, you've got, good old Jimmy Kimmel. Although, I don't know about you, I looked at my TV last night, and I hit record for tonight because tonight ABC stations are going to be airing a tribute to Charlie Kirk, and they last night, you know what they had on, Michael? Did I show you what they had on last night? They had on Celebrity Family Feud. They had Family Feud, but it's not the normal Family Feud. It's Celebrity Family Feud. We turned it on. I didn't know any of the celebrities. I don't know what maybe the word celebrity means something different now. But they've got Family Feud on instead of Jimmy, and it'll probably get higher ratings. It was kind of fun. It was a little bit entertaining. The families were having a nice time. Maybe it was one family. I'm not sure. I only caught the last part. But the Democrat Party, they're really something. So now it's a SEAR level 1 event, special event rating assessment, because of the threats coming from the Democrat Party for a funeral. And, of course, the president, vice president, the secretary of Department of Homeland Security, a lot of people are going to be there for Charlie Kirk's funeral. And the Democrats, they see it just as another event where, they can be themselves, I guess. You know how they are. So we've got that going for us. Kind of amazing times we're in, not in the best possible way, but there's a lot to get to thanks to the Democrats, and they're really upset about this Jimmy Kimmel thing. It's the end of democracy. It's the end of the First Amendment. It's got nothing to do with the First Amendment, by the way. They're stupid, they're corrupt, they lie all the time, and they're violent. Other than that, they make good neighbors and sons-in-law and all that good stuff. But here's the Democrats. Jimmy Kimmel's suspension by ABC Disney, right? Kimmel's suspension triggers congressional inquiry. And that's all on the Democrats because they're not very bright. And isn't that amazing? And the Advocate is, they're all over it. Representative Robert Garcia, left-wing radical extremist, anti-American, is investigating why the comedian's popular, not so popular, late-night show was pulled after the FCC commissioner threatened ABC over host's speech. Not really what happened, and ABC doesn't care what the FCC says. They never have. They were sued recently and had to settle with President Trump for, what was it, $15 million? I think it was 15, maybe $16 million. It was a lot of millions of dollars because they lie about everything, and they're just a political front group for the Democrat Party. Also, did you see, since they're very upset about this, Jimmy Kimmel's suspension raises fear. They love fear, don't they? Of a new censorship era. When was the old censorship era? That's the Washington Post headline today. The old censorship era was the Biden administration, and then, of course, we had the Obama administration. There are all kinds of amazing stories to tell that are true. The Democrats don't tell stories that are true. The Democrats prefer to lie about pretty much everything. But I got to tell you, there was a nice tweet, I think, that came out. And who put this? Oh, it's a Breitbart. It's a Breitbart story, actually, and it's well put. No one banned Jimmy Kimmel from every social media app. No, nobody banned Jimmy Kimmel. It's the end of the First Amendment and our Constitution and our republic and democracy itself, according to the Democrats, who, if they're talking, they're lying at this point. And if they're ordering lunch, I think it's not what they want. But here it begins with the good people at Breitbart. No one banned Jimmy Kimmel from every social media app. That happened to Trump. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. That did happen to Trump. What about that with Twitter and when the Democrats and Obama and Biden were using the FBI and the Justice Department against the political enemies of the Democrat Party, which is everybody in their right mind, and they used the IRS against their political enemies. If you belong to a Tea Party group or a Patriot group, they use the IRS to target you, try to keep you on the sidelines in the lead up to Barack Obama's reelection as the, communist mentored Democrat. So no one banned Jimmy Kimmel from every social media app. That happened to Trump. They continue. No one conspired to put Jimmy Kimmel in jail. That happened to Trump. No one fired a bullet at Jimmy Kimmel. That happened to Trump and Charlie. What happened to Kimmel is that his corporate employer decided he was no longer a profitable figurehead for its product distributed over the public airwaves. That's it. And I got to say, pretty well put by the people at Breitbart. The Democrats are playing victim because there is no status more exalted in Democrat Party ranks than that of victim. Oh, speaking of which, you see Pete Buttigieg. He's a victim in many ways, a victim of chest feeding. That's kind of a disturbing image. I apologize. But Pete Buttigieg is out taking shots at Kamala because Kamala said, the Democrats, they wanted to pick Pete Buttigieg as her running mate, but you'll never guess why they didn't and what Buttigieg had to say in response to Kamala's whining. All right, let us go to the telephones, Michael, before we get to our audio actualities for the day. And lots of crazy Democrat stories, Stephen Colbert, and what a bunch of schmucks they are. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Don, calling from the last train to Clarksville in Maryland. Don, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, nice to talk to you. Listen, I have a theory on this Kimmel thing. I had an epiphany, and I think that Kimmel saw what happened to Colbert because he was canceled of poor ratings and knows his ratings are even worse and figures he's next to be canceled because of poor ratings. So what does he do? He comes up with the most outrageous thing he can think of, that Kirk was killed by a MAGA guy. It's so outrageous that he knows he'll be canceled for saying that. And this way, instead of getting canceled for poor ratings, he gets canceled for what he said, and he goes out a martyr.
I like it. You know, I got to say, Don, it's impossible to be too cynical when it comes to the Democrats today. And I think you just proved that because, you know, it makes perfect sense. He saw, and you're right, he goes out there and he says these ridiculous things. He's got a room full of writers and producers that come up with this stuff and review it, and he presumably reviews it himself. And so this ought to do you in. And it's probably in his contract that they've got to pay him out anyway. And, you know, they pay him $15 or $16 million a year. He reportedly has a net worth of over $50 million. He's got a place in Italy and, home in Italy. And he said, well, that's it. I'm going to have to leave and go to Italy, like that's some kind of hardship duty or something. They're amazing people. But you're right. The show sucks. It gets no ratings. They have a hate cult in the audience. They clap assassinations and murders. They applaud. And now he gets to go. He's been working for long enough. He's earned enough money. And I like it. And there is no status, Don, more exalted among Democrats than that of victim. And now he becomes a martyr and a victim.
Right. And it couldn't be better for him. And
it couldn't be better for him. That's exactly right. If he's canceled just because his ratings are awful, then it's not like he goes down in history anyway, but then he's just out because his ratings were terrible. But this way, you're right, he's taken one for the left-wing team. He's having fun with political assassinations, as the Democrats have done again and again over the years. They really like assassinations, don't they, Don?
No, without a doubt. You
hear the music we're playing?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Last train to Clarksville. Very good.
It's the last train to Clarksville. Isn't it great?
Over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Communist authoritarian propaganda. ABC Network, they're fine with it. George Stephanopoulos in the morning, The View later in the morning. ABC World News with Matt Gutman in the evening, and then Jimmy Kimmel. Demented, mentally ill propagandists. Now, who at that point did not know that the guy with his thinks he's a transgender boyfriend, and they're like, oh, his father is a Republican. So the Democrats said, we'll blame the Republican Party. Now, what really happened? And I just read the because it's fun and it's true from the Breitbart people. No one barred Jimmy Kimmel from every major social media platform, but that did happen to Donald Trump. No one conspired to put Jimmy Kimmel in jail, but that happened to Donald Trump. Who's authoritarian? No one fired a bullet at Jimmy Kimmel that ripped through his ear, but that did happen to Donald Trump. Isn't that amazing? And again, the people at Breitbart point out that what happened with Kimmel is that his corporate employer decided that he was not profitable enough as a figurehead for their product because the public doesn't like him. Now, yesterday, the good people at the New York Post, because they pay attention, remember they reported the truth about Hunter Biden's laptop, while the Washington Post, the New York Times, and ABC News and late night TV were all doing Democrat Party propaganda about Hunter Biden's laptop. And the intelligence community, penitentiary face Brennan and the corrupt government bureaucrats in the intelligence community, as it's called, although they don't live in the same neighborhood. But they, they lied. They lied about it. They say, this has all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. It was John Brennan spreading the Russian-style disinformation as the Communist Party voter that John Brennan famously was and is, as far as we know. But here's the good people at the New York Post yesterday. Jimmy Kimmel's ratings were plummeting before ABC suspended him for Charlie Kirk comments. And the story reads, Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show was bleeding viewers before Disney-owned ABC pulled the plug and suspended him for his comments on Charlie Kirk's assassination. Nielsen data, the Nielsen ratings people, Nielsen data showed sharp summer declines and a year-long slide that leaves him trailing late-night rivals such as Fox News' Greg Gutfeld and even CBS's Stephen Colbert, who they've also fired, but they're going to let him finish out his contract and collect millions and millions of dollars. According to monthly Nielsen figures, Jimmy Kimmel Live dropped to just 1.1 million total viewers in August of 2025. That's down 43% from January, when he had 1.95 million viewers. His August household rating was 0.35, marked the weakest showing of the year. That's for the month of August. Now, in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic that the Nielsen people love so much, his ratings cratered. Jimmy Kimmel's show averaged 129,000 viewers in the coveted demographic, 129,000. This is a nationwide show, goes into pretty much every household, every broadcast. You get it with your antenna. You get it on every cable station, every cable system. And he had 129,000 viewers. This is, late night TV. This is late night TV. It's supposed to be big audience. But it's not, because he's not funny and he's a weasel and a political hack. And now, don't worry about him. He's, according to all accounts online, he's worth $50 million, and they've been paying him $15 or $16 million a year to do a bad job in his show and to get 129,000 viewers. But in August, again, in the 18 to 49 demographic, the only thing they care about, 129,000 viewers in the month of August. That's down from 212,000 in January, less than half of their peak in June of 284,000. So he's successfully cut the audience in half, the audience that they care about, and it's down to 129,000. CNN in the middle of the night probably gets that many viewers. Well, maybe not. With his ABC contract set to expire next year, the slump raises questions about whether Jimmy Kimmel Live can regain momentum against Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, and cable TV insurgents, again, like Greg Gutfeld and like Newsmax and like so many other places. Now, Jimmy Kimmel's deal with ABC runs through May of 2026 under a 3-year extension signed in September of 2022. And industry reports put his salary at $15 million to $16 million a year, with some outlets noting that bonuses can push his annual earnings above $20 million. So don't feel bad for him. It's not a hard job or anything. It's quite easy. Anybody could do it. There are cab drivers that would draw a bigger audience than Jimmy Kimmel's been drawing. Honestly, random, just pick him out of a lineup outside a hotel, cab drivers. Despite ABC's indefinite suspension of the show, the network has not announced any change to its contractual pay. So don't feel bad for him. Don't cry for him, Argentina. The New York Post has sought comment from Kimmel and ABC, But they're the New York Post, so neither Kimmel nor ABC will respond because they're not bootlick media, which is what the Democrats are comfortable with and what they expect, naturally. Now, by comparison, CBS's Late Show with Stephen Colbert, also terrible, held the top broadcast spot with 2.57 million viewers and 281,000 in the demo. The coveted demographic, as they like to call it, despite also losing ground year over year. These guys are left-wing political hacks. What did Stephen Colbert say last night on his television show, where they've also fired him, but they let him stay and collect his paycheck until he's done?
Yesterday, after threats from Trump's FCC chair, ABC yanked Kimmel off the air indefinitely. That is blatant censorship, and it always starts small. Remember like in week 1 of his presidency, Gulf of America. Call it Gulf of America. Sure, seems harmless, but with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch.
But with an autocrat, Stephen Colbert, who's mentally ill, says you cannot give an inch, and this is what CBS puts on in late night. That was last night, and I heard the violence slapping his hand, and you can't because Gulf of America, and shoot everybody because Gulf of America. We surround a lot more of the Gulf than Mexico ever did, but never mind that. They're not on our side. They're anti-us. They're anti-American. Also, does anybody remember, and I think most people don't, and that's perfectly reasonable, is that Rosie O'Donnell. Remember Rosie O'Donnell? She moved, sadly, to Ireland, which is terrible. And Rosie O'Donnell, she got at it yesterday on the social media, thanks to the patriarchy. And she's ranting about how her show was canceled because Barack Obama. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. That's Roseanne Barr. And I just started rising. It's Roseanne Barr. Too many idiot lefties. I was thinking about big, fat, loud lesbian Rosie. That's what I was thinking about. But you're right. It's Roseanne Barr. I apologize. Not Rosie. And she was yelling yesterday that it was Barack and Michelle Obama that got her fired from her ABC primetime network show in 2018. Roseanne Barr posted what the Democrats said was a racist tweet about Valerie Jarrett, who was senior advisor to President Barack Obama. And it says right here, which led to the cancellation of her hit TV show. Oh, wow. Isn't that amazing? Roseanne Barr's comments and subsequent attempts to explain them drew widespread condemnation. You'll never guess from who. And then what happened? Barack Obama was president of the United States, and Big Mike is his alleged wife. I guess Barack Obama's still insisting that he's straight. Is that going on? Hard to say. But the Los Angeles Times tried to do a story on it, but their heart wasn't in it. ABC's decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel's show has echoes and contrasts of Roseanne Barr firing. The hugely popular star of ABC's lineup was known as an outspoken critic of the President of the United States. But when one comment sparked an outrage, Democrats, they started burning police cars and stuff, the network moved swiftly to yank the entertainer off the air. It was May of 2018, and the star was Roseanne Barr. Hollywood reacted with shock when ABC abruptly pulled the plug on Roseanne, the top-rated reboot of the sitcom about the Connor family and their struggles with harsh economic difficulties. They didn't like that either because they like to lie that when Democrats are in the White House, everything's good. Roseanne Barr's reunion with her television family was an instant hit, becoming the most successful TV series on the network in years. The cancellation came just hours after Roseanne Barr posted a response to a tweet about a WikiLeaks report claiming that the CIA spied on French presidential candidates during the Obama administration. The comedian made a reference to Valerie Jarrett, former top aide to former President Barack Obama, as the offspring of the Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes. Right. And she said, so that's what she's a Democrat, though. She can say that because Democrats are okay. They're fine. And a reference to the Planet of the Apes film franchise, and said she's a member of Valerie Jarrett of the Muslim Brotherhood. Although Barr, they say, a vocal supporter of Donald Trump in his first presidential term, had long been a fiery presence on social media. The racism of the Barb was undeniable. Executives at the Walt Disney Company, they owned the broadcast, the network it was on, of course, said the post crossed the line, rejecting Roseanne Barr's apology and pleas for forgiveness. Now, what is the Los Angeles Times leaving out? The Los Angeles Times is leaving out that Barack Obama made the call to Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney at the time, and said, this cannot stand. And then because Barack Obama called, now that's actual government interference. And there is, in reality, no reason to believe that Donald Trump said a word to anybody at ABC about Jimmy Kimmel. And they say, the head of the FCC, we played the soundbite yesterday of the head of the FCC, who was doing an interview and mentioned something, but that didn't lead ABC to do it. You take a look at the ratings. Now, the LA Times does get to it eventually, buried very deep down in the story. Cancellation came hours after Barr posted a response to the tweet, WikiLeaks, right, during the Obama and President Obama. And they got, but that's just good, because he's the first black president, all that. Barr on Thursday jumped into the fray yesterday of the pulling of Jimmy Kimmel's show, firing off a response to Obama after Obama posted something about free speech, which, he crushed all over the place when he was president, but never mind that. Firing off a response to Barack Obama's ex post and saying that the Trump administration was taking cancel culture to a new and dangerous level, Barack Obama said on Twitter, which is X. We should call it Twitter X. Twitter, like Joe Biden and Latinx at that. And what's her name? Roseanne, not Rosie O'Donnell, but Roseanne Barr tweeted yesterday, remember to Barack Obama, remember when you and your wife called Bob Iger to have me fired? And there you go. Womp, womp, womp. Yeah. So she's got out there. She blames Obama for calling Bob Iger to have her taken off the air because she insulted Valerie Jarrett on social media, which is, I think, what social media was created for, isn't it? And the Los Angeles Times then denies it for Obama. The Obamas don't even have to deny it. The Los Angeles Times did it for him. Isn't that amazing? Does that have anything to do with ratings? Might have to do with ratings. I'm just saying. All right, let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Sid, calling from Los Angeles, California. El Sid, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Sid.
I'm calling. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Long time since I've heard your voice.
Yes, well, I just calling. No one remembers Gina Carano from The Mandalorian, who was fired by Disney, I believe, in 2021. No, there wasn't 3,000 protesters for her firing. She just got dumped. Eventually, she won her lawsuit against Disney, but no one, Disney is in the habit of firing people for various reasons. So I don't see the big problem with Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, and they haven't even fired him yet. He's on suspension, and they're still paying him $16 million a year. I don't know if he's going to be getting his ratings bonuses this year, but there it is. And you're right about Gina Carano. She was Disney and Lucasfilms, Lucasfilms settled a lawsuit over her 2021 firing. They don't care. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They paid President Trump $15 million to settle a lawsuit where they slandered him. Gina Carano, they settled a lawsuit, Disney did, over her firing. And they'll probably give Jimmy Kimmel millions more dollars to go away, too. But the Democrats, what do you hear them going crazy? Oh, it's the end of democracy. It's our republic. It's the Gulf of America. It's autocracy. I'm sorry. It's been a Democrat-run corporation forever. Your ratings suck. Nobody thinks you're funny. And you prove it every night. You don't have a TV show. You don't have a First Amendment right to the 11:30 time slot. Okay. It is Friday. Boy, is it Friday. Yeah, Celebrity Family Feud is on local Channel 7 at night instead of Jimmy Kimmel. And probably getting higher ratings. Let's go to the phones again, Michael. Let us go to Garrett, calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Garrett, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, good morning, Chris.
Hey, Garrett.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I went to a wedding in France last weekend and had a good time. But, I really like Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert and other groups, people that might be like that on TV, because it causes those networks to lose money, and I think that's a great thing. And they're too stupid to figure that out because they think their message is more important, so they want to just keep them on. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. I'll watch Gutfeld or something, but that's my thoughts on it. So maybe he'll get his job back and they can continue to lose money.
Well, you're right, I believe, and I'm actually doing a quick lookup right now, but I believe that the Stephen Colbert Show was losing, I am correct, $40 million a year. $40 million a year they're losing on the show. But it's Democrat Party propaganda, so the CBS network just kept paying the money because they're dedicated to the party, not to entertainment, certainly not to comedy, not to putting on good programming, quality programming that people want to see. But, they get invited to the Obama estate on Martha's Vineyard or the Obama estate in Hawaii or the Obama estate off of Embassy Row here in Washington or the Obama estate in Chicago because they suck up to the left. And it's in the end, it's not their money. It's corporate money. But you are correct, Garrett.